Hey, Raindrops. It's Monday. So, look, as you know, tonight I have a live show with Dr. Heavily in Atlanta. So, tonight's Monday Night Live is pre recorded, where Dustin and I are going to recap part one of the Love and Marriage Huntsville reunion. I did not want to leave y'all hanging. So, wanted to give y'all that heads up. Tonight's episode is pre recorded, but it's a fun one. Enjoy it anyway. And I will see y'all next week. Let's get into part one of the Love and Marriage Huntsville reunion. And baby, I am bringing on the guest of the evening. Give it up for the amazing man, the myth, the iconic legion, Dustin Ross.
It feels good to be home. What's up, Kingdom Rain? What's up, Raindrops? What's up, Los?
Now listen here, child.
Yes.
We
What
need
you
to
gonna tell
get
us about your weekend? Because you
I,
haven't said anything about we haven't heard your Moesha Diary music yet, right? We need to know what's going on in the car.
so wait.
We need
Okay,
to know
wait.
your Moesha music. What's
Okay,
up?
wait. If I am Moesha, does that make you Niecy or Kim Parker?
I'm from Onyx. Remember from Onyx that was on there
Not
terrorizing them
Fragile
girls?
Star.
Yeah, that's me. That's who I am. I'm him. You know what I'm saying? The one they wanted. The one that was with one of them, and then Moesha started liking him because that be happening sometimes in life. So I just identify with that character.
Done.
That's who I am. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm.
So I'm Moesha and you're Fragile Star.
That's it.
Q.
Yep. Yep. That's me. Q. I'm Q. Absolutely. And look, while you playing, you know me, I would put them clothes on today. That shit Q used to be having on all them big ass Carl Kanai, vintage Carl Kanai short sets and shit. I want all of it. Give it all to me. But
I
anyways, back to your business
what
because
you
we're not
doing?
gonna deflect. How you doing, Los? What's up, friend?
I'm doing good. I follow your advice in terms of keeping my mouth shut.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I
The people want to know, Carlos. The people want to know, man. They do.
I'll say this.
And
I'll
by the
say this.
people, I mean me. So go ahead.
I'll say this. When you speak things into existence, God has a very funny way of, revealing things to you. So
Listen,
I
and I ain't trying
am
to make no double entendre here, right? But the power of the tongue.
well, that is
You like
TBD.
that? Yeah. Yes. Uh-huh.
Listen, a lot of things are not easy on a Sunday morning.
Mhm. I hope not. That's when it's good. But anyways, yeah.
Anyway,
So
that's it. But what's really good, come on, transition, was this reunion.
wasn't it? Wasn't it? Wasn't it?
Let's first of all, let's get into the fashions. Let's get into the fashions first. Um, the funny thing with me and the men on Love and Marriage Huntsville
Yeah.
that you guys may have seen in part one or just seen over the course of the reunions on the show. Martell and Chris Fletcher are in competition with me when it comes to my suits. They
For
really,
sure.
they really try to outstunt me, Dustin.
Well, let's break that down though, because I don't think it's that simple of a takeaway, right? As them trying to outdo you. I think that you established a suit culture on Love and Marriage Huntsville when it came to the reunion stage. Now, from day one, when you assembled the reins as host, your outfit became a part of the conversation. You had many custom suits, some two-tone, some with detail that added personality, maybe a buckle here or a strap there, double breasted here, maybe a different button orientation, something like that. But you started that shit. And you're in there with people who, again, this is a show that follows the reality. So these real niggas on
Yeah.
stage as black people, okay, a station of my niggerdom. You know what I'm saying? Is what we have on when it's time to put that shit on. And that reunion stage is peak time to put that shit on. People like Chris Fletcher, right? People like the Scott brothers, you know what I mean? These are men that have made an effort to have something to say, to make a message, communicate a message with their
Mm-hmm.
attire. That doesn't happen on other shows we see where the husbands show up for 5 seconds with a stool behind them. The husbands be in stadium seating normally. The wives be down here, the husbands be back here up. On this show, because it's about love and marriage, Huntsville, and the husbands are full-time cast members, it's a little bit different and there's more of an effort and an intention made. So you started that. You should have came to the reunion and Jose Banks, you know what I'm saying? But you didn't want to do that. You didn't want to do that. You wanted to put our Armani suit on or do some custom shit. That was you starting that. So now these brothers are following suit. That's what's going on.
Well, thank you. I love to set a trend here or there.
Yes,
And
yes,
what we
yes.
saw in part one is Destiny set a trend by not having a dress the morning of the reunion. And
Yeah.
Principal King had to come out of his office because my team is like, so here's some behind the scenes tea for y'all.
Oh, come on with it,
So,
Los.
because you know they like behind the scenes tea. So I'm gonna give y'all a little something. The cast, to their credit, came makeup and hair ready, which was the first time we ever tried that, and it worked. So they came to me saying, "Can you believe we're about to start on time?" Because when it comes to the reunion, Dustin, it never starts on time.
I
It
can
always
imagine.
starts 2 hours late. Just so y'all know, this reunion we always like we're about to start on time, and then my producers tell me Destiny doesn't have a dress. It was a wardrobe malfunction. Something happened to it. And her stylist is waiting until the showroom opens. And I'm like, showroom? So they said, would you like to talk to her? I was not prepared to talk to Destiny Payton. You saw me in my Nike white shirt with I was underdressed. So we were all like, we had conversations like, do we start the reunion without Destiny? Do we just it was all of these
Because she's
decisions.
main cast. So you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we were like, do we start without her? So I spoke to her. Long story short, God is good. We were able to get the dress in time. So that just goes to show y'all, like what Dustin is saying. This show is real. We follow the reality, we follow the real. Nothing is made up, nothing is scripted. And thankfully, Destiny was able to have her Jessica Rabbit dress in time to walk on stage,
I
child.
felt for Destiny in that moment. Because I feel like
Ooh,
Destiny, I
you, I'm
did.
teasing.
I did. I felt for Destiny in that moment, and here's why. When she mentioned that um she said something. There was a soundbite where she said something about, I know people think that I'm difficult, but I'm not trying to be difficult or whatever. And having a wardrobe issue, right? Something that's beyond your control. I know that she was cringing at that. I know she didn't want
Mhm,
that to be, her story of the day. I felt for her for
mhm.
that. If it was up to her, I know that dress would have been there. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah, of course. Yeah.
I kind of felt for her in that moment. I'm like, damn, Destiny, like, but she, it just wasn't her. So I felt bad for her in that moment. I did, but hey, she got it together. She put that red shit on, and you know what she did? She listened to Johnny Gill. What did Johnny Gill say? Put on
Put
your
on that
red dress.
red dress.
Okay,
Yes.
and that's what she did. She
And put
came
it in
on and
your
did. Hi.
Y'all think I had it like that. Put on your
Yeah, that's right, Carlos. That's right. God damn it, that's what she
power
did.
of the tongue.
So that's the theme of the night, ain't it? And hopefully
I'm,
the
I'm,
morning. But yeah, so I was happy to see her do that and figure that part out. I think everybody looked good. You know what I'm saying? I thought that you were a damn fool for saying that the color of that hue of peach slash apricot was akin to the Pantone hue that we know Lori seasoning salt has. Now let's talk about the relevance of you even mentioning Lori seasoning salt. This is a black show. Okay, if we on a black network, we on the Oprah Winfrey network. That means that we are serious black people. And one thing black people are serious about is seasoning our goddamn food. And the base, right? The starting point, the foundation to this whole thing. You know how when you build a house, you pour the base, you pour the foundation, you pour them cement walls, and you pour that foundation, the foundation of black culinary experience. Okay, it's Lori's seasoning salt, and it is the exact color of Linnell. Excuse me, because she don't like that. It is the exact color of Nell Fletcher's dress. Okay, and Chris Fletcher's trimming. So to see everybody presenting and showing up and showing out, it was amazing. I thought Tisha looked so good.
Oh, yes.
Tisha's having a season. When you want to talk about aesthetics and looks, Tisha showed up and showed out this season. I've often always said Tisha is a beautiful woman, and she just showed up and showed out this season. In that reunion stage, she looked good. The dress looked good on her. Her bob looked good. Her and Melody had the same bob. Melody's was blonde. Melody's was blonde. Tisha's was black. They looked good, and that means they was there for serious business. They was sitting there with their head on straight. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I thought that was incredible. Everybody looked
Yeah.
good though. Everybody looked good. Yep.
No, I thought everyone looked great. And let's just get right into some of the hot topics from the actual reunion. We kick things off really showing these sort of parallels
Yeah.
between the Scotts and the couple formerly known as the Hosts, right?
Mhm.
We sort of did
And
like
we
this.
mean formally. If there has ever been a couple where it was important to note that they ain't a couple no more, it is Melody Cherie Rogers and Martell Holt. That's who that
There
is.
you go.
Yeah.
Yes. So the couple formerly known as the Hosts, we wanted to showcase these sort of like Freaky Friday parallels
Mhm.
between like where each couple started off and how they're sort of ending up in different places, and how Marcel and Tisha are really seen as this power couple who are
Mhm.
building, properties, hotels, establishments around Huntsville and getting all these contracts and doing it in a way we talked about. They both look great. Tisha is a baddie. And
And what
she
an
has been.
evolution, right, Los? What an evolution. When
Oh
you
yeah,
talk about
no.
that, I'm glad you mentioned that specifically, the whole Freaky Friday component, because when you
Hmm.
saw those flashback scenes, Letitia Scott has come a very long way. She is so confident. She is so self-assured now. It's just a completely different Letitia. And I think that plays a lot into how we saw her able to how we saw her show herself as able to, she could just find herself, she could find her way to a place of peace with people, or
Yeah.
at least being cordial with people. And
Hmm.
that comes from confidence. When you feel good about where you're at in life, when you feel good about your effort, or
Yeah.
the changes that have come to your life because of what you've done, you show up that way and you're open to resolution in that way. And this is just a totally different Tisha. So you're right. That whole Freaky Friday moment
Hmm.
was so dope, because it really highlighted the growth, the
Yes.
progress, and the
Yeah.
evolution of these people. It was dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And one of the biggest mysteries to I think the audience at large as well is really trying to dig deep in terms of like Martell and Marceau's issues and
Mm-hmm.
the sort of accusation of, okay, listen, Martell, are you just mad that Marceau is now at the level in his career along with his wife that you saw for you and Melody at one point in time? And what was so interesting, and listen, this show is so funny to me. Even when when things are intense, there's always some sort of levity to it. But
Yeah.
the fact that I was like, okay, so are you saying that you don't want to see them do well, or rooting for them, right? Rooting for them. And he said, hold on, be clear. I'm not rooting for them. Are you rooting for them or are you not? You're saying you're not jealous of Marcel. Marcel believes you are because he has, and listen, it's sort of like he has a life that you want. He has a wife. He has a booming business. Could these be reasons why? Because I wanted Martell to have the opportunity to address the elephant in the room, at least as relates to Marcel. Till this day, I am still confused about what is the difference between I'm not rooting for you, but I'm also not rooting against you.
I'm not confused at all. Not confused at all, Los. Let's talk about it.
Talk about
So
it.
again, like we said last week, we can't start no story in the middle, right?
Right.
These people that we're seeing in relationship on these stage, you have to think about the origin story of these relationships, right? There was a friendship, a bond, and established trust between Martell Holt, Marcel Scott, Maurice Scott, Kimmy, Melody, Letitia. They were on the precipice of that relationship, right? As the partners of these men, right? And so they came, within relationship with each other or whatever. These was Martell's friends. Once you switch up on your friend, once you make somebody switch up on you as a friend, you really can't. There's a way to handle that. The mudslinging, the secrets that are being told, the willfulness to just highlight the darkest moments, you know what I'm saying, of each other on this stage. That comes from event after event after event, or circumstance after circumstance after circumstance, where trust has been uh, compromised, where bonds have been broken. And most of those things, the onus of the responsibility for most of those occurrences in that friendship fall in Martell's lap. They do. So seeing these gentlemen on that stage willing to tell secrets, there has long been conversations and scuttlebutt, actually, by definition, about that message that Martell sent Melody with the screenshot attached of that personal video. That's been talked about for quite some time. What, 3 seasons later, 2 seasons later, we're finally seeing that conversation make its way to the reunion stage by way of Marcel Scott, who's known about that situation for quite some time. But we've seen breaks in the relationship between him and Martell. We've seen a breakdown actually within their relationship, where now details like that are being shared to substantiate a character analysis, to tell what kind of person Martell is. That's why that information has been shared on the stage. That's why Letitia made the comments that she made when we were on our live, and she shared some things that she felt compelled to share. They have progressed to that point of not being in relationship, where not only am I going to talk about things we weren't talking about before, but now I'm going to use things that I knew before and elected not to talk about as evidence of the type of motherfucker you are. That's a deep break in relationship. And so I just think that we're at a place with them, you know what I mean, where we have arrived for good reason. I'll just put it like that. I hope that makes sense.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, no, listen, it's always the historic nature of exactly
You
what
call me a
occurred.
historian, nigga.
You are the historian when it comes to love and marriage. I mean, you are. You remember everything. Listen, unlike a lot of people who recap the show, they haven't watched since day one like you have. So when they talk
Yeah.
about things, I'm like, that makes no sense to your point of view. It goes to
Yeah.
show me that you just started watching the show and you don't understand the
Yeah.
backstory.
Yeah.
No. So you understand the backstory of it. What were your thoughts about the whole conversation in regards to whether or not Martell pled guilty for the revenge porn of it all?
How telling. This is a season. What I will say about Martell is he's showing himself this season, right? Without trying to shroud it in confusion and chaotic conversation. He did that a little bit on the reunion stage, but for the most part, he's telling us who he is. He said earlier in the season, I'm the type of person who, if you make me upset or you get me, I'm gonna try my best to get you back or go out of my way to do something to you. He said that. He said on the reunion stage today, or this episode, part one of the reunion, and he said that he did not see anything wrong with sending that message to Melody or showing that picture. You have to listen to that, right? Instead of trying to correct it when you're in a situation with a person like that. Take what they say at face value. He's telling you that sort of behavior, that sort of get back, that sort of retaliatory spirit and nature is common, it's normal for him. He thinks that it's actually the right thing to do. Listen to that, because a person is telling you who they are. I thought it was ridiculous. You can't be the person who's sitting on the other side of the aisle from Melody at a wedding and saying, wow, I'm thinking about all this shit between us and we got kids and we got all these reasons to work it out. And maybe we need 5 more years to figure out if this is really dead, when it's so dead that it is not even, it's not even, it is dead. Okay. Like an iPhone without a charger. But in this, you can't go from that sort of reflective state of mind to now saying, well, I don't see nothing wrong with sending you a text message with a screenshot saying, if you keep doing shit I don't like, I'm gonna send this out to everybody. It's not congruent. It doesn't line up. And so that shows you that he's the type of person who, depending on his emotions, you know, you'll get a certain declaration from him. Depending on how he feels, you might get certain retaliatory actions from him. That unpredictability, okay, is dangerous. So that's how I felt about it. I felt like Martell is really telling the truth about who he is as a person, as pertaining to the events involved in this show. That's what he's doing. He's letting us know, I don't give a damn. You hurt me, I'm gonna get you back. And I don't think there's anything wrong with the get back being that low. You got to think about that. That's a hell of an awareness to have about a person's nature and what they will do to you or are capable of doing to you if they feel upset. You're gonna have disagreements with people. I don't think it should always go to that point. And the fact that he didn't see anything, he literally said out his mouth, Lowe's, I don't think nothing's wrong with that.
Yeah, no, and that was the reason why. I mean, listen, you know this, and everybody in the world knows this. People have been wanting me to talk about that
for a while. Yeah.
For a while. And what people don't know, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I have the esteemed privilege to host the Love and Marriage Huntsville reunion. Okay. I am under contract as a host, okay, to speak about things as a host on the show. Okay.
Right.
I am not going to address things that is happening on my show in real time as we're filming. Number one, we're filming. Number two, what you guys may not know is when you are filming a show, you're under contract. You can't talk about the show and reveal what's happening on the show, which is the reason why we have this thing called the reunion. The reunion is the platform to address everything, okay?
Right.
Me not addressing things that happens on my shows, because, you know, people love to say, you talk about everything else. I don't have a contract with the shows I talk about outside of mine. So I'm at free will to talk about anything I want to. As relates to any show that Carlos King's a part of, I'm not at liberty. We all have a boss. I respect my bosses. I may be the CEO of the company. I have a boss as relates to the network. I have contracts as relates to the network. I'm not going to lose the respect of my colleagues, my bosses, my agreements, just because people want me to address things so that you guys can feel good about it. I understand the questions, but that's the reason why I wanted to wait until the reunion, a show that I get to host is a privilege. I'm under contract. I talked about it then. And everything you're saying is what I wanted to come across. Like, what you did was abhorrently bad. And there's no excuses for it. Shade for shade, eye for an eye. In my opinion, and I could talk about it now, I obviously think what he did was abhorrent.
Right.
And there's no getting around it, right? And that's why I had to say it in front of him so that he knew how I felt immediately.
Right.
And that there's no excuses for it. I don't care about the shade for shade, eye for an eye. That to me is not okay as relates to someone who is the mother of your children. It's not okay. It's just it's bad. And we all there's not one person on that stage, and I want to make this very clear. There's not one person on that stage, whether you like Melody or don't. Her castmates, none of them agreed with Martell in that moment that, yeah, eye for an eye, shade for shade. Everybody understood that
that was bad. Inappropriate. Yeah, it was wrong.
It was inappropriate. Yeah. And for me to listen, it's my job to extract answers from my cast. So for me, I was just like, let's talk about why you did it. But let's
Mm-hmm.
also talk about whether or not did you please ask her. You're here.
It was ridiculous. The gaslighting, the defiant nature of his responses, the him being defensive, all these dispositions which were so out of place. And it was just a complete and total misalignment. And you give a person an opportunity. We're humans, right? So there's a margin of error. We all make mistakes. We all have lapses in our judgment. You give a person an opportunity to say, "I'm sorry, I fucked up." You give a person an opportunity to say, "I was wrong as hell. I'm sorry I made you feel like that." When you give people that opportunity and they choose instead to say, "Yeah, and I don't think nothing was wrong with it," it is shocking to your system when you're in the moment like that and you're watching this happen in real time. You're watching him respond to you in that way when you literally are opening up the reunion stage, the moment when most eyes, right, everybody that watched the season or might have tapped in and out during the season, they're gonna watch the reunion. This is
Mm-hmm.
the time to show up and make amends. And the fact that his ego and pride got the best of him in that moment, and he was unwilling to take advantage of that opportunity when he is the person who needs the most redemption, the most forgiveness out of anybody that has ever touched that stage as a part of that cast. And the fact that he doesn't realize that and he pisses away the opportunity in the moment, it's very telling. You were exhausted by the way by having to continue to ask the same question, like, "Nigga, I'm trying to give you a chance to try to clean this up some kind of way. Like, here, how do you feel about what you did?" And for him to say that he thought it was okay was just wild as fuck to me. Wild.
Yeah, no, listen, it was again, the job as the reunion host is to make sure that you, like you said, you ask the question because you want to make sure that before I move on, I want to make sure that I give everyone the opportunity to say what they want to say. I don't want anyone to feel like, well, I didn't have an opportunity to speak my.
Yeah,
Nope.
yeah.
I'm gonna ask you, and it was what you said. It was definitely an exhausting segment,
It
which is
was. And
why we had to take a break.
you are a professional television host. Just one of, the blades in your Swiss Army knife of professional capabilities, right? But you're sitting in the hosting chair, Carlos, as a professional. You're unbiased and you're fact focused, right? You're focused on the facts and staying on a timeline, and you're not telling him how you feel about the choices that he made or what he's done. You're just trying to get him to a place where he can line out these facts, realize what these facts mean when you put them all together, and offer something to it. And you did your best to not make it personal. You were doing your best to be fair in that reunion host chair, and that is very difficult to do when the stakes are so high emotionally, and when you're talking
Hmm.
about something that's so real and sensitive as taking an explicit photo of your wife and yourself and pretending that you're someone else, and it reflects a behavioral assessment of your wife's sex life. That's not cool. Your ex-wife, excuse me, sex life.
Hmm.
That's what y'all are talking about, and you kept trying to get him to understand that without being explicitly biased, or you know what I'm saying. And I just think that I recognize the professionalism in that, so kudos to you. Like, you was in that hosting
Well,
chair doing your best. You did your best. You did your best. But I guess your best, I guess it wasn't good enough. You know what I'm saying?
I love how you always give a song or a Negro spiritual.
I guess your best. I guess your best wasn't good enough, friend. Because
I'm
you
going to
tried.
create a. I'm going to create a Spotify playlist of all the
Yeah.
songs you sing when you are co-hosting Monday Night Live with me because I be like, that was a good record. I forgot all about that song. Actually, I really do love it. So no, thank you for that. Thank you for that. That's why we have to move on and get to another case. And
Mm-hmm.
at least I felt like, look, this case, I know that the valedictorian himself,
Yes.
Maurice J. Scott.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We had to get into again the DUI. Again, something that happened while we were filming. Again, people like, well, Carlos, you gonna talk about this? We talked about it. I just want to get your thoughts on it because listen, I gave you guys a hint weeks ago. that Kimmy read me or tried to get at me. Kimmy was on fire, and nobody was safe in her path, and Carlos King wasn't safe either. But I just want you to talk
Listen.
about that overall because I was so curious
Mm-hmm.
about how, because one thing about Maurice, I'm gonna let you cook. Maurice is very smart. He's
Literally,
he's
literally,
like
yes.
Maurice is like one of those like child prodigies in terms of
Mm-hmm.
how extremely smart he is. And that's why I always tell people like, you guys have to give this black man his props for being the valedictorian of a law school. Like that's a big feat. So I already knew coming in, I said, child, I gotta go toe to toe with
Yeah,
Maurice J.
yeah.
Scott. And the J stands for jurisdiction. Um,
Okay.
okay, or
And not
Julius
Jameson.
Doctorate.
For all y'all that's trying to make him be a drunk. That J don't stand for Jameson whiskey. It stands for jurisdiction and juris doctor. Okay, you put some respect on them credentials. Okay, that is Maurice Scott Esquire. Okay,
Esquire.
y'all
Okay.
gonna
But
know.
no,
Yes,
so I already knew. I said, come on, Maurice, let's
yeah,
go. But baby, when Kimmy stepped in and said,
yeah, because she ain't
well,
like
go
that
ahead,
shit.
Dustin. Go
She
ahead.
didn't
Talk to me
like it.
about that.
Now, okay, so for me, it's very simple. You know, much like the issue with the illicit text message that Maurice has sent, Martell sent Melody, it's a legal matter. Okay, so there are boundaries confining everyone involved when it comes to what you can discuss, how many details you can share. All that shit impacts the outcome of his case, and he was or is, I'm not sure of the current setting, and I really don't care about the current state of his case in that way. Him getting that
But I
DUI is
will
not.
say, I will say in my Sunny Hostin voice, I have a
Uh-huh.
legal note.
Okay. Oh, come on with it. Yes, yes. Sidebar,
Look.
Carlos. Well, I'll give you
Yes.
my sidebar in a minute, but go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Go.
I
No, no,
have a
no.
Sunny comment. Let's just take it to the view for literally 5 seconds.
Go
Sunny
ahead.
has some of the flyest, best diamond jewelry I have ever seen. Like her, it's very subtle, but very culturally impactful. She'll have like a diamond ear cuff. So this is a little bit
Ah,
ghetto. Pay attention. Pay attention to Sunny Hostin's diamonds when you watch The View next week. And
okay.
you and tap back in. Text me when
I'm
you
gonna tell
peep
again.
it.
I'm gonna
Her
text you.
earrings, her jewelry, just peep her
Yes.
diamonds. But go ahead.
Yes. No,
Go ahead.
she's
Legal
very
note.
amped to this.
Yes.
Dustin,
Mm-hmm.
I have a legal note.
Let's get it.
As of today, so at the time of filming the reunion,
Okay.
the case was open. As of today, Maurice J. Scott's DUI case was dismissed.
Let's talk about that. Clap for that. Clap for the fuck that. Shout out to Maurice. Good for him. That's the outcome I wanted to see. I know I can speak for myself. That's the outcome I wanted to see. So shout out to Maurice and Kimmy. Shit. You know I love me some Kimmy, but
I know you do.
I do, because I feel like Kimmy just stays in the pocket of fairness and of realism. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
but so anyway, shout out to her. But I do understand why Kimmy felt um offended maybe by some of the questioning that we saw concerning Maurice's DUI situation. We saw a conversation between Letitia and Marceau when they were on a construction site for one of the homes that they built and throwing down on, which actually was going to be a fresh ass house. It looked like it was a modern home, like aesthetic or
Mm-hmm.
whatever that they were building. And I love a modern aesthetic. But anyway, so we saw that conversation. And of course, we saw the conversation between Melody and Shanita Foster, who we don't know from this show, right? So seeing her have a conversation about something so personal to, members of the core six who we've gotten to know over the course of this show, it did feel a little obtuse. It did feel a little out of place. It did feel a little bit of, gossipy. And I can understand why Kimmy took umbrage with that. I can understand why she said, you know what? I don't really like that you was discussing that shit with this lady who I don't even know like that. And not only discussing it, but choosing to focus on the salacious rumor originated details surrounding the case. allegations of lipstick on the corner of his mouth or on his collar, alluding to the fact that there was some sort of, physical activity with a woman, and now debating who that woman was. Was it Kimmy? All those things. You're trying to find something here. You know what I mean? And that does not feel good to see someone who you do consider to be a friend doing that. So I completely understood where Kimmy was coming from. You know what I'm saying? And Melody, in her defense, she said what it was. Shit, everybody was talking about it, so I was talking about it. It's just that simple for me. I think it was more serious for Kimmy and less serious for Melody. But I do appreciate that although they were passionate about what they were talking about, it didn't really get nasty. You
Well,
know
let me
what I'm
ask you this.
saying?
This
Yeah.
raises a good question, and this has been a debate online ever since Maurice's charge, and people have
Yeah.
been watching these episodes. And I really want to get your insight because you are the Love and Marriage Huntsville historian, right?
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Melody, in addition to a lot of people on social media, feel like when I was going through the woes in my marriage with Martell, you all talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It was a topic of conversation. Everyone talked
Mm-hmm.
about it. Everyone had an opinion, right? Melody said this on the stage and obviously in her interviews this season that I'm gonna talk about stuff that y'all do, just like y'all talked about stuff that I did along with my marriage. Why is there an issue? So that's how she feels. That's how a lot of her supporters feel too. Like y'all talk about her shit, she has every right to talk about y'all shit, right? On the flip side, some people are saying this. The difference is, well, Mel, you and Martell brought this marital rose to the show. It was open for fodder. It wasn't rumored or gossiped about. You guys laid it on, hit on first episode. And they feel like because Marie's situation was an open case, that you should not be talking about it in general, number one. And number two, you should not even be addressing things online about things you're seeing, i.e., lipstick on the lip and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you
Mm-hmm.
stand in that in terms of these two debates that's happening simultaneously?
Yeah. So I think that, there's bits and pieces of truth in everybody's opinion, right? In most people's opinion. I think that during season 1 of Love and Marriage Hunts, like I remember back when I think they were in Miami and they were on like a party bus. I think it was. My history is a little sketchy, but I
No,
remember
they were. Yeah.
Leticia having a conversation about Martell's infidelities and the way that it was being discussed. I remember it being sort of focused on the gossipy dynamics of the realities of Melody and Martell's relationship at that time. And I remember Melody appearing in the show as if she was defending herself and defending her and Martell's decision to continue their marriage, post certain infidelities that this group was now discussing. And so I think that all those things happened, right? All that kind of stuff happened, moments like that happened. And then now that there are things to discuss in other people's lives, the approach that Melody took in discussing them, I think that it messaged or conveyed an intention of, you did this to me, now I'm about to do it to you. And it made people feel like it made others feel like it was retaliatory, as opposed to Melody being like, you know what, I remember being in situations where I was dealing with something really personal amongst this group, and I have an opportunity here to be messy with y'all too, but I'm not even gonna do that. To have a one-on-one where you sit down with them, you sit down with Kimmy and Maurice and be like, you know what, I can remember when you all made me feel this way, or when conversations amongst this group made me feel this way, and I don't want to do that to y'all. So I want to just let you know that there's an opportunity here where I am making a choice to stay away from the mess, but y'all didn't do that to me. And I want you to know that this is a crossroads where I'm making a different choice. That's how you talk about why people didn't show you, for whatever. But instead, Melody took the situation like, fuck that. And I can't blame, hate on her for it. She was like, fuck that. They talked about me. I'm finna talk about them with Shanita Foster at a high school basketball court or whatever that community center. You know what I'm saying?
You're
Like
so descriptive.
that's what that's Shanita, she was there. And so,
Our Detroit,
so,
our Detroit sis, yes.
yep, she is from Detroit. And so, you know what I'm saying? But she was there, having opinions about certain things. So I just think that's what people are um finding funny about this story. I think that Melody is taking advantage of an opportunity and not really moving with a view toward actual friendship or being there for Kimmy and Maurice when they're going through this situation. I think her take was more so, oh, y'all going through this shit and y'all did me like this when I went through this shit. So I'm gonna talk about it too. And I think that's the I think that's the pivot here when it comes to intent.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense,
Mm-hmm.
Carl?
No, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. And listen, that's why I wanted to bring it up because that is the conversation that's going on social media in
Yeah.
terms of, what's right and wrong. And I'll say this on some real shit. They are filming a reality show. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
On a reality show, when things are happening in the cast, you talk about it.
You
know
have
what
to
I
move
mean?
the story forward through
You got to move
conversation.
the story forward.
Yeah.
Obviously, no one's telling you what to say or how
Mm-hmm.
to feel. That's how you feel. That's how you say. That's what you say. But anything that happens, especially when things are happening, that is a major story.
You
Maurice's
got to talk about
DUI.
it.
Yeah, everything that this cast have so much going on, and this show is so popular that this cast sneezing, you're going to get a bunch of YouTube videos about it, right? It is what it is. And listen, it's courtesy of the show being successful and the cast being interesting and great at their jobs. It is what it is. It's public fodder at this point. It's a very successful show. Things do happen on social media that oftentimes you're sort of like, it's so big, you can't ignore it. You just can't ignore it. It's too big. You don't address every small thing that happens because I never want this show to be about what happens on social media. I never want it to be that. But if it's something that happens in real time that social media picks up, that's different.
Let's talk about that, right? I'm glad
ahead.
you said that. Let's really dig a little bit deeper into that. This is a television show. Okay? So this show is created for television. It is not centered around a timeline of event and it's not centered around opinion based commentary on the internet, right? We're in a digital space right now with the show that we're currently producing, right? Your Reality with the King recap show. This is a digital show where we're talking about some shit that was on television. So there's not an overlap, and that is something that's a perspective that comes from people who are just unaware of how television works, and no one should be aware of how television works unless you work in television, right? There's not an obligation to understand the mechanics and shit of television production. But stop acting like somebody can say something on the fucking internet and then, ooh, what's your response? And that's the television show. That's not this TV show.
Yes.
That is the commentary that is going on again, which is why I keep my ass up out of the comment section, right? Because there has to be a separation from your entity, from what you do, and things that aren't connected to what you do. And fans of this show, because they love it so much and because it's so great, and as a producer, the executive producer and creator of this show, I know you appreciate that passion. But sometimes that passion can show up as opinions or perspectives that are not founded in an understanding of the space. So you look crazy saying the shit. Of course, he's not going to talk about the shit that's going on in the bowels of the internet and in the corner pocket, 8-ball corner pocket of the internet, because this motherfucker said this shit about the other person on the show. You're not making a show based on that internet fodder. Those are conversations that are originated from what is going on this television show, which is a story of these people's lives, not a timeline of their reaction to comments from other people on the show and how they feel about other people's opinions. That's messy. It's immature. It is less than sufficient when it comes to what you populate your show with, right? It's not
Mhm.
internet fodder and opinion. So I think that people need to stop having an expectation of you to discuss what they're discussing, which is generally centered around what somebody had to say about somebody else in an interview. That's not the TV show. Those are opinions and conversations
Mhm.
based on the TV show, and people need to understand the separation. As you can tell, I'm sick of that. So that's why
Yeah,
I
no,
felt like
and
I
listen,
had to
listen.
say something.
If you're sick of it, I mean, imagine how I feel
You
about it because
terminally, if I'm sick, you terminally ill.
I
Okay.
mean, goodness, I pop up and
Yeah.
it's like my face is plastered all over YouTube with
Because
crazy
they try
headlines.
to
I'm like,
accuse you of omitting things or strategically not focusing on or highlighting stuff that they're discussing in real time, and they don't understand that there's a calendar here. These things have been
yeah,
filmed long ago. You're discussing what we filmed a long time ago. There's just a timeline here, and I get it. Again, I don't want to fault the people who, like me, who are fans of this
no,
show,
yeah, yeah,
because it's
hmm,
rooted in that passion, but you got to kind of understand it so that you don't create these false accusations and false
yes,
blame for things that don't even fucking exist in the first place. I think that's what I wanted to talk about. That's it.
no. And in the words of Blue Ivy at the Grammys to J and B, so to the fans of my shows, I love y'all, but sometimes I'm gonna need y'all to like just hold on. Hold on. I love the fans. The
Yeah,
audience is amazing. I've said this very clear. If you do the most maniacal things, you're not a fan of the show. So I
yeah,
don't
for
consider y'all
sure.
fans.
Showing up places and
So when
shit.
people
Like,
say
yeah,
Carlo yells at fans, I don't yell at the fans of Love and Marriage Huntsville.
no,
I yell in terms of my passionate speech when it comes to people who mask themselves as fans who do the most craziest things. It's not that those are separate. I love
right,
my audience and
right.
I love people who do that. But thank you for talking about the timeline. I think that was more clear than Maurice and Kimmy's timeline.
To be
But
fair, they did say that next season they would be willing to shine a light on all of that. So I was watching that. I was like, I can't even get mad because these is vets. They know what they're doing. They know
it
how to
was
sprinkle and
let me
disperse. You know what I'm
it was
saying?
I think at one point I literally gagged. I said, "Oh," because she said, "What did Kimmy say to me that made me gag?" Dustin, I literally gagged when she said, "Wait, what
Oh,
did
when
she?"
she said how you know I was home or something she said, or it was
It's a lot
something.
of speculation. So, are you speculating? It's a lot of speculation. And I said, "Well, listen here, Mama. Let's talk about it then." What?
Look,
Listen.
look, you,
Once
you
again,
flash
I'm
back to your
asking.
conversation with Quad. Did you know that? I didn't know that.
Now you know. Ooh,
That's what it was. I'm gonna tell
that's
you
what it
something.
was.
Kimmy was looking good, and them gloves. I don't know if I've seen Kimmy in gloves on that reunion stage before, but them gloves gave her they gave her the power because Kimmy was pointing and moving her hand and shit. It was them gloves. Kimmy was like, and you and we didn't say nothing about your big. You know what she said. I ain't gonna bring it up, but Kimmy was literally making her points, looking beautiful while she did, and I thought it was great. It was great television. And again, I was proud of the ladies for verbally jousting without going too low. And that's a
Mm-hmm.
special skill set that Kimmy
Yes.
has always presented. You know, she tries to
Yes.
be fair and not take it to a place of no return
Yeah.
out of emotion, and I have the utmost respect for people who can do that, who can not let their ego get the best of them in situations like that and really have a real conversation, right? I love it when people do that. So I didn't like seeing them go back and forth because I've always been a proponent of the core six, really
Yes.
five,
You have.
but the core six, you know what I'm saying? Keeping their situation at a certain level of respect. So I didn't like them going back and forth together, but I did like to see Kimmy show up and say what she had to say. Shit, I like that. I did.
No, listen, it was a spectacular part one. Next week is part two. Dustin will be back to recap part two of Huntsville with me. And look, we have an amazing 3-part reunion. Each reunion gets crazier and crazier in terms of content. So I can't wait for you guys to see it.
Yes.
And once again, you'll catch Dustin and I next Monday to recap part 2 of Love and Marriage Huntsville reunion.
Yes, we will.
Okay, raindrops. All right. Love you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.